Morning, folks. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. Today's soap is brought by SMG Soaps. This one here is hot apple pie. We're kind of, getting closer to Thanksgiving, and maybe some of us are going to have a hot apple pie. It really does smell like it. That's what it looks like there on the inside. Use just a wee bit of it. It smells really good. Like it says there, started out being 4 ounces. It's not that much anymore. I'm going to follow the shave up with a Stirling Red Delicious. Thought that'd be appropriate. Already put 2 pumps of the Taconic Preshave oil on this morning, as well as a hot towel for the face. Preshave. Pretty important. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Also, I've got it whipped up here with it's fairly wet. Almost drippy. It's almost there. This is an Omega S brush. This one, in other words, the knot is synthetic bore. It's what it's simulating, and it does a really good job. Of course, your synthetics doesn't soak up the water, but it does a fairly decent job of holding the water in between the bristles. And that's what it looks like there. It's pretty wet. Man, it smells good. Yeah, slice of pie and coffee for the morning, right? I'm going to be shaving with the Focus Dynamic. It is a single edge, takes a half of a DE blade, and it's recommended that you take a DE blade and snap it in half. For me, I've had pretty good luck. Get the lather off there. Using the pre-cut blades. This one here is a Personna X series. That's what it was wrapped in there. What they're thinking is that, with you take a DE blade and snap it in half, you got the curved ends, and that helps provide some tension holding the top cap in place. I have yet to have any troubles using the pre-cut blades. I've been using them for quite a while now and still haven't had any issues with it. But it is recommended that you use the DE blades that are snapped in half. And as it goes for a stark contrast, last video I used the WEC surgical prep shaver razor, equipped with a Kismet blade, really smooth blade. This is a stark contrast because this one here is a very mild shaver. Probably if you wait 3 or 4 days, and if you got a thick growth, probably not the razor to use, just due to the fact that it'll clog on you. But if you're a daily shaver, if you don't have much growth, definitely might be something a person would be interested in. Especially if you're moving from a cartridge to a shaver like this. It is mild. You can cut yourself with it, but you have to work at it. For the most part, it is a really easygoing shaver. My method is of using it is I have a tendency to use it as if it does not have a pivoting head. There just went some lather. Like I say, it's pretty wet. That's my preferred method. In other words, allowing the pivoting around, like the contour, especially if you have a jawline that's more pronounced than what mine is. But that's the way I prefer to use it. It works well for me that way. As it goes for a traditional wet shaver, it goes against the traditional thinking that the light pressure, gentle pressure is usually what is you hear over and over when you're using I guess you might say a traditional DE blade. This one here is different. It wants you to put pressure on the blade. So you could develop some bad habits, but if you're coming from a cartridge over to a shaver like this one right here, you'll be accustomed to putting pressure on the blade. It takes a little while to get used to that because it's so ingrained that a gentle pressure with a DE, and this one here, they're wanting you to put pressure on it. For me, like I say, I try to use it as if the head does not pivot. One of the ways that you kind of sort of figure that you're starting on the right track is you might hear some clicking, and you kind of see it pivot, so when it snaps back you might hear that click. At the end of the stroke, if it clicks, you're quite alright, but if it does it mid-stroke, means you probably got something just a little off. In other words, it only pivots so far. So, and you're trying to maintain that pressure throughout. So, in other words, it will help you in that aspect, letting you know that you're getting your pressure and your angle off. Like I say, it is a mild shaver. It's not that it's impossible to get a BBS, but you probably will have to work at it in order to get it. I have used several different kind of blades in this. So if you have some feather blades, not only will you get several uses out of that feather blade, but you may not notice a whole lot of difference in between, let's say, a feather blade and a derby blade. You may not notice a whole lot of a difference, but you will get quite a bit of use out of one blade because it is such a mild shaver. I have a link down below for a lot of this stuff down below. Links for it. I should mention, as it goes for finding this kind of brush, it's not the easiest. It used to be pretty easy to find, and nowadays it seems like there's not very many websites that carry it, and how many of them actually have it in stock. Mine's an older one. I noticed when I was looking last night, setting things up for the day shave, that the lettering, mine's white, and I noticed one last night that the lettering was black, which looked pretty good. The red and black, they had contrast, if that sort of thing matters to you. This is this particular brush is a lot like the Professional, as it goes for loft. That is one thing. I think the handle sometimes referred to as an American handle. It's the longer one. I'd like to see this knot in that brush handle. That would be really cool. I have yet to see that, and I'm not too sure why. How you say why not? But I think that would be a pretty good brush to have. I really do like this knot. It's good for a painter, and like I said, it does a good job holding water in between the bristles, so it does kind of give you a little bit more of a traditional feel. Once again, getting lather everywhere. I whipped it up pretty wet this morning. I get a pretty good shave with it. I'm kind of, guess you might say, got accustomed to it pretty quick. But I was already used to shaving with a single edge to begin with, so I already had some kind of foundation to work with in the way of how to use one and what to expect. But boy, it is such a gentle shaver. If there's been anything that this particular razor helps me with, is on my across the grain. It does make it a lot easier. Don't have to quite pay attention to my angle because the head does pivot. Should mention also the way that this handle is designed. It is back on the back side right here. It is shaped right there, and of course you got your notches right here, and it seems to be pretty intuitive for me. So that's where I hold it and work with it. I'll try to remember to take that apart at the end, show you how that blade looks in there. That apple, it definitely hits my nose. This is one of those favorite soaps that I got from SMG soaps. It's this one here. There is a one that cappuccino, and I can definitely smell that. It works well for my simple nose. Still have it's definitely a 3-pass shaver for me. This is not one of those shavers where you're by the end of the second pass, your third pass might be more of a pickup. For me, this is definitely a 3-pass shaver. Like I say, it does work well around a jawline that is pronounced a lot more than what mine is. Mine's somewhat rounded. You can go over the same spot several times, and it's such a mild shaver. You can get by with that. I know I have some other shavers you probably wouldn't want to do that too many times because they're so aggressive. If you got sensitive skin, and maybe even a real sensitive for against the grain pass, this just might be a shaver that help you, I guess you might say, change in that aspect. My best guess, I haven't tried it yet. My best guess, I could probably go all week. In other words, week being 5 days on one blade. It is such a mild shaver. The blade is there, but the blade feel is minimal. In other words, this shaver just glides right over the top of the face. Feels pretty nice. I mean, as for somebody that's not used to shaving, a little bit concerned, in other words, apprehensive, because we're talking about everybody so used to a cartridge doing anything different, they're kind of concerned about what they're putting on their face. This one here would be a good one to start them out on. I have my trouble spots, especially over here on this side. If I'd work it a little bit more, I could probably get closer there, but for the most part, in other words, this is a fine shave for me. It's got I guess you might say, the beard reduction that I'm after. I'm not looking for anything in the way of BBS, because sometimes, especially on my neck, depending on the shaver, gets a little irritated, a little sore. That is one thing with some of the more aggressive razors, my face does get a little sore. It's easy to get BBS on my cheeks, but the neck area, especially down in here, I have to be kind of careful with it, because otherwise it'll be sore for the next day and I'll need to use a different shaver. So I don't mind using the aggressive razors from time to time, but it's better for me if I use them consistently, so that way I'm more used to paying attention to certain areas, how much pressure you put on the razor. This one here would definitely, I think I got some soap back there. This one here definitely have you developing some bad habits. I mean, in the way of a traditional wet shaving, because like I say, you get by with putting quite a bit of pressure on this one here, and it is recommended to do so in order to get a good shave out of it. No stinging. No stinging whatsoever. Like I say, smooth, comfortable. It's stark contrast, when you see that blade hanging out of a shavette like this WEC, and then shaving with this one here. I kind of more or less planned it that way. It's such a stark contrast. And that apple smells so good. Like I say, we're getting close to Thanksgiving, and then, pumpkin pies. Maybe you're going to have a caramel apple pie. That would be another nice scent. I've had this container a little while. As you can tell, a lot of the newer ones will have a different container. But this Red Delicious works just perfect with this soap. Definitely going to be smelling good this morning. I mean, it does. Shaving with this first thing in the morning, eat apple pie, cup of coffee, does sound like it's something to have this morning. This is a fantastic shave. There is a base that is sold with this. There's a notch right out of the front that you can use to move this plate back and forth to load the blade or unload the blade, depending on how you look at it. For me, a soft towel works pretty well, as it goes for helping protect your fingers and whatnot. I just use a towel, and the way if I can get that soap, is holding it in now. There it is. That's what it looks like on the base plate. And there's the blade. You can kind of see this got two posts right there. It just fits right up in there. Like I say, I don't have any problems with the pre-cut blades, but it is recommended to use the DE blade snapped in half. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. Stay healthy, stay safe, and smooth shaves to you.